Hey guys, and welcome back to Free Plugin Friday. We're yet again looking at an analog obsession plugin. Now, if you tuned in last week, we looked at the Neve style EQ on a song I created on my Twitch stream. So the idea with what I was doing in the Twitch stream is I'm just going to stream working on a song. Started off with just a guitar riff, built the drums, and we got to this point after 2 streams, which is a kind of scratch guitars, drums, and some strings. And so if you want to kind of follow me on Twitch, basically it's a pretty casual setting that I go on there, mostly gaming, and then the rest is just kind of making music or just chatting about stuff. So it might be, working on a new song, doing a mix, maybe just jamming out with a drum machine or something, or just playing games. It's pretty relaxed. So go check it out. It's Jimmy James Jams on Twitch. And if you're not really into Twitch, then you can go to the YouTube channel Jimmy James Jams, where all the streams are posted up afterwards in their full length. But Twitch is a little bit more fun, I think, because you can interact a little bit. Anyway, enough about the song. What are we looking at today? It is the SSQ from Analog Obsession, which is, as you can tell by the name and kind of look, it's an SSL style EQ, which is my favorite style EQ for mixing rock kind of stuff. So we're going to start it off on just a drum bus. I actually like to do a little bit of tweaking on the drum bus. Just saves me time going through each individual drum track, especially with samples, and then boosting certain drum tracks from there. So what we're going to do, we're going to do top down from the drum track. We'll start off I'll go through the features and look at the EQs a little bit more in depth on the full drums, and then we'll go through, mix some drums, and then work on some guitars. I think it's the same as we did with the Neve style EQ. So it's basically an SSL style plugin. So you've got your filters here, which you can turn on and off, which is a high pass and a low pass filter. Now, a lot of the SSL kind of copies don't actually include the filters, like the Slate one, which I use. So it's really cool to have that here. You've got low frequency, which has a frequency band. You've got low mid frequency, which has got a Q factor and a frequency band. High mid frequency, which has also got a Q factor and frequency, which is 0.6 to 7. High frequency shelf, drive, and output. So the drive's really cool. You can get that kind of analog effect if you really want that, which is often why you want to use analog gear. I mean, the curves are really cool, obviously an EQ, and it's quick of use, but a digital EQ also can have decent curves, but that drive factor is that little bit of thing that gives it that analogness as well as the curves. So let's go through, have a listen on these drums, and then we'll kind of leave it in a mix and move on. So let's just check out the drive control first. So when you're not boosting or cutting, it seems quite subtle. Sometimes boosting and cutting with a drive is actually, depending on where they've put it in the circuit, I'm not sure where it is on the actual SSL EQ, if we're talking about the line amps, or they're modeling the actual mixing stage. But yeah, we'll see. We'll adjust the drive as we start boosting things. I'm going to leave it at 0. But you can hear it's kind of subtle there, but it actually does something there. Filters. I'll turn it on. So you can get pretty as high as you kind of need to. Low pass filter, which is actually really cool. We'll actually use that in guitars later, I think. Then we got the lows. Down to 30. It's the low shelf. You got your low mids, and then you got the Q factor for them, so you can go really narrow or really wide. And if you go narrow, you can really hear kind of all you really need to do in the low mids. If you're cutting here, you got a fair bit of range of boost and cut. I'm not sure what it actually is, but but it's enough to kind of do most things that you wouldn't do with an analog EQ. I mean, sometimes you may want to use a digital EQ to get really extreme, really tight cuts, but for your analog kind of thing, the SSL style EQ is probably one of the most versatile. So let's look at the high mid frequency. Go through the frequencies, go through the Q range, let's set it here. Wide Q, really narrow Q, you can get that real cut. And then your high shelf, which is, everyone likes a high shelf on an SSL usually. Really great on drums. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to keep the drive at 0 for this, and as we go through things, so let's, a little bit of high end, a little bit, I like a bit, I think around 10K. The only thing, it doesn't have more of the numbers, but we'll kind of listen to it there, boost it, I think there. Take out a little bit of the cardboard, this is about there. And just a little bit of low end. Turn the filters off because we don't need them. And I think they actually affect it even at full. There's a slight filter in there. The drive as is. So that is on the drum bus. Now I want to kind of just adjust it on the actual kick in. So I'm just going to boost the kick in so you can hear it a bit. Drive. Compensate the output. Let's have a listen. Might just solo that up. So off. Okay, a little bit wimpy. On. Might lessen this off a little bit. Maybe a little bit more high end, a little bit more low end. Bit more aggressive, bit more punchy. Now I want a little bit more out of the snare, so let's just close this one. Let's move to the snare top. Probably turn that kick down a little bit. Let's just get the snare top. Little bit of a filter. Little bit of low end punch. And then the CLA thing, which is basically boost the hell out of the shelf at about 8K. Let's add some drive in, let's see how that goes. I like the drive a bit. Maybe they're a little bit, but a little bit conservative. And maybe a little bit more crack. Go find some of that. So that's it off. Really aggressively changing the snare. Let's listen to it in the mix, not in the mix with all the drums, and then we'll do it in the mix. Oops. I want drums. So for the snare top bypassed, I might actually just turn some of these samples down a little bit. See a little more snares, a lot more crack going on. Let's bring it across to the snare bottom. And I'm going to take out some of that. We're just going to lessen it a little bit, turn the drive down. Very similar too. So let's turn off the snare bottom and snare top, and you can hear the difference. Let's put them off. Might turn the overheads down a little bit. So it cuts through a bit more, a lot more punchy. So let's listen to it in the whole mix, and we'll just go between those whole snares. So I'll just unsolo the drums there. So in the mix with the snares, not using the SSQ. We'll have a look at it. I'll just put it up here so you can see it. So this is the 2 SSQs on the snares. I'll put a little bit more output. You can hear in the whole mix that it really cuts through a lot better. Needs a bit of compression. We don't have any compression or any other kind of effects on the snares at the moment, but just as an EQ goes. Off. On. Way more crack, way more kind of that thing. Yeah, it's just so easy to dial in. I find it. For newbies, it's with the semi-parametric, it can be a little bit daunting. But you learn really quickly to use an SSL style EQ, the frequencies at work. I tend to be always going, if it's a low mid thing I don't like, it's about 0.2 to about 0.4. And then a smaller Q, I take that. It's about the 8 to 10K is really like the boost, unless you need a huge high shelf, and then maybe you can go further down. Low end, between 30 and about 120 is where I really like it on most things. You get to kind of learn it a little bit. And you can see on the snare bottom, I've taken a little bit of the high end at too. So we'll leave the drums as is there. I think it sounds pretty good. The only thing we could probably do is maybe toms, but I think the toms sound fine. There is a little bit of toms in there, so maybe listen to the toms. I'm just going to, I think I've got Virtual Rack doing some stuff here. So let's just turn off the SSL EQ. So this is what I use in Slate. That's the kind of settings. So we're going to go similar settings in here. So I've actually just turned the Slate off. I'll keep the compressors and stuff on. And let's just try it on toms, because there is a bit of toms in this. You can hear the kick in the toms as well there. So SSQ. Let me just get the little bit of the song which is got way more toms in it. Let's get a short bit here. Find a little bit of that might be muddy. Yep. It's a tight cue, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. Add a little bit of there, and I want to add a little bit of mids. Just cut through a bit better. I don't know where, maybe here. Maybe a little bit of highs. And not so much low. Oh, I'll cut the lows back here. Just so it's not quite as muddy. Now let's listen to that, all the drums together. Getting a little bit of overlap there, so let's listen to that whole section. On, off. As we come to the next section, we'll turn it on. So that wasn't a huge amount, which is the toms, but you can see how it's useful to get that same kind of thing. Now I do want to move on to guitars, and then what we'll do, we'll just put it on a little bit of guitars and then strings, and then compare on to off. So we've got rhythm guitars here. So So I just want a little bit more crunch out of these, a little bit more aggression. So this is where I really like these styles of EQ. So let's see what this can do. Maybe use the low pass. Let's take out some fizz. Add a little bit of mids. Just a little bit. Get rid of some of that. Actually, I kind of want some warmth there and a little bit of low end. Is it off? We'll level compensate a little bit. A little bit thin, isn't it? Maybe make it a little bit more subtle with a little drive, actually. And now I've got this lead guitar, and I kind of want to do the opposite to that, in a sense. I want it to cut through more in the mids. So let's, I'll just turn these guitars off for a second. Listen to it. I really want to boost the mids. Yeah, take that nasty bit out. Take out some low end too though, so it isn't so muddy. Now let's listen to it with the other guitars. Let's bypass them both. Probably need to level compensate that a little bit better. So it's a little bit better now. It's really easy to kind of carve opposite frequencies and kind of get things to fit together. These were all recorded with the same recording chain, same guitar, so I want to differentiate it a bit more, and using an EQ like this is really good. So the only thing is strings, just want to make them kind of warm and just a little less muddy. So I'm going to keep the drums on. Let's see what high frequencies we can get. Now we don't want it there. Some of the air maybe. Let's take out some of the mids that the guitars will probably be in. And get rid of some of the mud. We don't want to lose too much warmth. Maybe take the drive all the way down. Off, on, subtle, but it's doing something. So let's have a listen to all the SSQ on together, and we'll bypass them all, just so you can see what I've just quickly done with all the SSEQs. So let's go snare bottom, and kick in, and toms. So this is the whole song together. We'll start with them off. And now with the SSEQs on. Now I've gone a bit overboard. I've probably scooped everything a little much. It is very easy to do when you're doing a lot of elements. but it has drastically changed. Again, off. Back on. We'll end it there. So that has been the SSQ from Analog Obsession. Straight away, I'm just going to say I like it. It does what I expect it to do after using the Slate EQ for so long. Now, the drive is really subtle, but it's a really cool feature to have there. The filter, which doesn't come on a lot of them, is great. I love that. And yeah, very easy to use. If you don't know how to use an SSL style EQ, you can just dive right in. The frequencies seem to be quite similar to the ones I've used, at least to my ear. Now, maybe it's not a perfect thing. Maybe it's not, I don't know if it's G or E channel. I think it should be G channel based on the features. But yeah, it might not be the perfect and most accurate representation, but it's a free plugin, and straight away I like it better than other EQs I've got that I've had for free in the past, because it just lets me get to where I kind of want to go. So thanks for watching. Again, another free plugin Friday. Keep an eye out for Cheap Tuesdays, which is going to try and be every fortnight. And as I said, if you're into Twitch and you want to chill out, it's very different to this, not tech driven, just more fun. Although I might actually do some mixing on there, but it's going to be a bit more laid back, not so much, this kind of thing. Hopefully this song, when it's done, I will actually post a video on this channel. I think what I'll do is do a complete streams of it, have all the streams, and then cut it down to about 20-minute video, almost like a highlights reel of producing the song from start to finish. Might be really cool with some talk over and a bit of like looking back and reflection and stuff. So that'll happen at some point, but I don't know when I'm going to finish this song. Like I said, it's a very casual thing. It'll happen when it happens. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.